Hello, hello, and welcome to Inner Work for Greater Good. My name is Emily Eldridge. As always, I'm the creator of the Change Light system, the founder of Change Light, and my whole purpose is to teach you, those of you who are passionate about making a difference in the world, inner work that can accelerate your power to do so. This inner work is all about healing your inner struggles, clearing out those parts of you that get in the way of you feeling fully at peace and fully empowered, as well as bringing forward your inner powers, which I call those M powers, for those of you who've been watching this before, and really get you aligned with your inner truth, which is who you are, that inner knowing, of who you are and who you are here to be. It's that compass, your inner compass, that guides you through your life to really become the presence that you're here to be and make the difference that you're here to make as that presence. So first of all, I want to point out, I think I did this last time, like, here's what's going on with my hands this week, just because I'm sure it's probably distracting to see me going like this and going, what is going on with her? So as always, I have eczema, so I have to cover, bandage that. But I'm actually, as you can see, it's a different background. I'm back in Vermont, which is where my first episode was filmed. And my parents have a house up here. And so I've been helping my mother touch up paint on the walls. So I did take a shower this morning, and yet the paint is still with me. So just so you know, everything's okay. It's just my hands are a mess. They frequently are a mess. I'm afraid I'm not one of those people who like gets pedicures or manicures or any of that stuff. But in any case, so I'm so happy you're here. So what I want to talk to you about today is this thought of, why is it that just healing your inner struggles isn't enough? I'm bringing this up because there are a number of modalities out there that really are focused on, techniques for healing the inner struggles. And there's so many different ways of doing so. And I really honor those ways. One of the things that I discovered in my own work, because let me just put it this way. When I first started this work, it really was focused on, okay, how do we heal these blocks, triggers, wounds, blind spots, all this stuff that gets in the way of us truly feeling at peace and fulfilling our purpose and being the presence that we can be and that we are here to be. And that came out of my own struggles, as I've shared very openly, in terms of feeling so blocked and so self-critical and so self-loathing and having all kinds of anxieties and all kinds of insecurities and, rageful reactions, triggers. And so I really was focused from the very beginning on, how do I heal this stuff? Because this is the stuff that was getting in the way. This is the stuff that was causing me pain. And so that in the beginning was really the focus. And that's oftentimes what drives us to heal ourselves, or to seek out healing modalities, is because we're in pain, is because we are uncomfortable within ourselves, or because we're having issues in our relationships, or some kind of patterns or keeps showing up. And so we're like, I don't want to keep doing this. I want to change, and I want my life to change. And so usually it's pain that or fears, there are all kinds of pain, right, that drives us to start to do the inner work and start to really address those aspects within that are preventing us from really feeling at peace with ourselves and feeling fully empowered. So for years, that's what I focused on for myself and in my own work, was doing the drawing out process and healing all those inner triggers, drawing them out and, clearing them, but then also discovering the 3 types of X powers, what I call X powers now. If you haven't seen my previous episodes, please do. But those X powers being those 3 types of inner, triggers and blocks and wounds and parts of us that get distorted by fear and pain and other kinds of traumas or chronic stressors in our lives. So that was my focus for a long time. And I think I may have shared this story, by the way, in a previous episode, but basically what happened was that one of my own X powers guided me to discover the existence of M powers. So what was happening was these X powers, these inner struggles during the drawing out process, were transforming into these wonderful, beautiful beings that were just really parts of our power. Well, this one X power of mine was basically like, you need to stop being so completely focused on inner struggles and seeing us as somehow wounded, meaning X powers, seeing us as somehow like we're flawed or weak or any of that. She goes, you need to start seeing that we are parts of your power. power. So it was that X power inside of me that led me to discover the 3 types of M powers. So that was back in like 2011, I think, that I got that very clear message from her. And so that's when I discovered the 3 types of M powers. I used to call them something else. Now I call them your inner sovereign, your inner impresario, and your inner free spirit. But back then I called them like your spiritual self and your practical self and your playful self. I don't know. I had different, it's gone through different iterations over the years. But the thing is, even though I discovered them, I really was not teaching about them. I wasn't talking about them. I wasn't even exploring them. It was sort of this kind of, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing. Oh, that's cool. Until 2015, I think, at the end of 2015 or 2016. Anyway, the point is, when I reached another period where I really hit a wall, and I had been clearing and clearing and healing, and I was like feeling so much better from doing all this healing. But circumstances led me to realize that, wait a minute, I can't just like that. Here I was clearing and healing and all of that, but I still felt almost this kind of emptiness. I felt this kind of like a lack of sort of focus and purpose. It wasn't like I felt lit up. I felt clearer, and I felt more at peace, and I felt healthier, and I felt less triggered and less reactive. But I really was missing that sense of just of real feeling filled by something, right? So it's sort of like healed and cleared, but not refilled. And so there were a number of things that came together that guided me to realize that I needed to start really honoring my M powers and listening to them. One of those things, I don't remember if I shared this in a previous episode, but one of those things that happened was that my own husband, who'd been watching me as I developed all this work, and he loved it when I came up with the M powers, he's the one who he said that he'd had a dream that something like shook him and said, you have to get Emily to talk about the M powers. And he woke up, and then he told me about that the next morning. And I literally was like, oh, that's interesting. And just kind of didn't think about it. And it wasn't until like a year later that I finally, because my own life was not going the way I wanted it to go, that I finally was like, okay, maybe I should actually like listen to these M powers. And when I finally did, my husband laughed. He was like, I think I've been telling you this. I had that dream, remember? It was like, oh yeah, that's right. So I'm a little slow in the uptake sometimes. And my husband, who would not call himself intuitive or like getting messages or anything, clearly it was like something was trying to get the message to me through him, because I guess it was kind of hard to get the message straight to me, because I really wasn't listening. Anyway, the point is, I started honoring my M powers, and I actually used them to a really amazing result, which is they helped me to design my first online course. I felt guided to create my first online course. And so they helped me do that. And they helped me come up with different elements that I would not have come up with on my own. And only then, and then I started to feel like so good and so filled in a way that I hadn't felt before. So that's when I really started listening to my M powers, as well as healing my X powers. And that's when I also started teaching people how to honor your M powers, not just heal those struggles and clear them out, but really bring forward those parts of you whose job it is to empower you to live your truth. So I tell that story to show you the contrast between just healing your inner struggles and, like that's fantastic. But really, it's also about bringing forward your powers. When we do the drawing out process, the X powers do transform into M powers. So on the one hand, just clearing the struggles, they transform back to your strengths. But there are a number of reasons why it's really important, though, to do the full process, if you will, meaning, I talk about with the Change Light system, is you heal those inner struggles, you honor your inner strengths, you honor them, you focus them, and then you draw out your guiding star and bring forward your truth. And the whole point is that your truth is your treasure. That's what we're after here. Healing your inner struggles is only one part of that pathway. And I've seen other modalities where they just focus on the healing the inner struggles, but not the whole, like, well then, okay, so what do you do with this power that you've unleashed, that you've received, that you've freed, that you've brought to the surface? And how do you bring forward more of your power to the surface? So that's a very important part of the process. As much as the pain may have guided us to really start the process, it's really all about taking it through to healing your struggles, honoring and bringing forward more of your power so that ultimately you can fully live your truth, because your truth is the most at peace and most empowered you can feel. Your truth is your knowing of who you are and who you're here to be. So it's not enough just to be clear. It's also important to really be honoring that truth in every way possible. So the point is that when we heal those parts, so for example, if I have an inner child in that is throwing a temper tantrum and it's screaming and crying, and it's having a temper tantrum, and I transform it, I heal it with the drawing out process, and it transforms back into this lovely, delightful, sweet child, and I hug the child and we have this wonderful embrace. And there's this wonderful peace and clarity, like this amazing peace and clarity that comes from that, and bliss too. Like, it's so fun when I experience it, or my clients, there's just this amazing bliss that comes from reintegrating, reconnecting with and healing and reintegrating with that part of you, or reintegrating it with you. It's an amazing feeling. But what can happen is, so you have these parts that ultimately kind of go, okay, they feel more at peace, but they're lacking, they can sometimes end up lacking in focus and direction. So it's all about helping them actually see, where are we going here? That's not to say that all parts of us have to be like on this mission with us, but it's all about having them aligned with our higher purpose and mission. And sometimes if we don't give them that something to align to or with, then they might, it's fine, but we're not really using them to the best of their ability. So that's one thing that can happen if all we do is just focus on healing our inner struggles. We feel better, we feel more at peace, we feel more clear, but then we've got all this power, and it's like, okay, so what are we doing with that power? What are we doing with that peace and that clarity? And I often say that what happens is your truth does come forward more clearly, but it can come forward even more powerfully and faster when we actively tune into it and call upon it and talk to these parts, those empowers whose job it is to empower us to live our truth. It happens a lot faster and with so much more joy and peace and clarity and wisdom. That's what it's about. So the whole point is, when we only bring forward those when we only heal the X powers without bringing forward our M powers as well, then we miss out on that additional support and that guidance and that wisdom that they have for us. So sometimes what I'll do with a client is that we do the drawing out process, and they've got this part that they've discovered. And sometimes, and actually part of the process requires that I actually align them with that truth. But even then, I'll often encourage the person, I'll say, this is a part of your power. This is a part of your wisdom, and it knows your truth, and it's here to help to empower you to live your truth. So keep talking to it, keep receiving from it, keep learning from it, keep bringing it into your life, use it as an advisor, use it as a guide, that kind of thing. Again, it's all about being in connection with ourselves, but also really maximizing that power we have inside, really like bringing it into actual reality in our lives, so that we can make an even bigger difference on a daily basis, because we're calling forward these wonderful powers within us. So I just want to point out that if we do the healing our inner struggles without honoring our powers, we're missing out on a massive amount of love and peace and joy and presence and clarity and pleasure and wisdom and all kinds of yummy, yummy stuff that so many of us wish that we had with us. The other thing that's so fun about really bringing forward your empowers as well, and I've talked about this before, that we talk about that some of my clients will call it their inner team, their wisdom team or their inner committee, or they have different names for their empowers. But by actually listening to them and inviting them to be a part of your life and inviting them to weigh in, inviting them to help you design, mine helped me design my course, help them to design your business, help them to design your day, like invite them to help you do these things. Then you're going to find that you don't just feel more at peace because you've been healing the inner struggles, but you feel like filled and fulfilled. And you feel, the way one of my clients put it was, she said, and in fact, she did this where she actually hadn't been doing the clearing the inner struggles. She hadn't been doing that drawing out process. All she did was do this simple technique that I teach for honoring your empowers. And she said, I feel so much more whole. And I feel so much more fulfilled from the inside, so much so that I don't need other people's approval, that I feel like I am enough as I am. That's big. That's big stuff. That's a great example of how it can be powerful just to really pay attention to your empowers and honor them and bring them forward. And I teach this in the Change Light System course, which is in my community, where you can do this work in a safe and supportive space and learn all these techniques. But just the point is that she hadn't even done the drawing out of clearing the stuff. She just did this one technique for bringing forward her empowers, and she felt so much more whole. I might have actually shared this before. She went from feeling completely burned out in her business and having to let go of clients to being on fire, to doing so well and really being able to stick with her commitments, but also to redesign her days so that they were more filling and fulfilling and pleasure filled for her. So that just is a really great example of the power of just doing that one thing alone, and how that can be enough to really bring in more of that presence that is you, more of your truth, more of that wisdom and that clarity and that beauty that is already there within you, that may be obscured by some X powers, but is also there for you to tap into without really necessarily having to go through years and years of clearing out the inner struggles. So the point is that your powers are there, that we shouldn't just because we heal our inner struggles, we shouldn't just take for granted that therefore our power is just going to come bursting out. I mean, it does in a lot of ways. But as I said, you can accelerate that process and enhance it and magnify and expand it even more within you, so that you can accelerate your ability to use that power for good, use that power to make a bigger difference in the world, and receive that wisdom and guidance that is already within you, that is waiting for you to really listen to it and to honor it. Another thing, though, that's really, really important that has to do with that whole Change Light system, as I've talked about in previous episodes, again, if you haven't seen my previous episodes, get on it, girl, because there is a lot of stuff, a lot back there that I share with you. But as I said, it's all about healing inner struggles, revealing your inner strengths, and then bringing forward your guiding star, which is that vision that you carry of who you are here to be, live, your optimal self, living your truth. That's your inner guiding star. And then there's your truth, which is that inner knowing of who you are and who you're here to be, that powerful inner compass, that sense of mission and purpose and being and presence. And really it's the presence you're here to be. So it's just a process of clearing out all the struggles and bringing forward those strengths. But my point is that even then, if you look at it as, well, I'm clearing all these, inner struggles and doing the drawing out and stuff, and then, well, I'm also drawing up my empowers, I'm listening to my empowers. Very, very, very important. But as I often talk about, even with those empowers, you've got the three, you've got the sovereign, the impresario, and the free spirit. So the impresario, let's start with the sort of bottom two, the ones below. So you've got the impresario, which is really that part of you that's very practical and, likes to figure things out, likes to fix things and think things through, and also wants you to survive. It's very focused on your instrumental needs and your instrumental care, as some would say, like in therapy circles, instrumental care. Um, and then there's the free spirit, which is the part that's like your inner child that's just free and joyful and doesn't care about responsibilities and doesn't care about getting things done and doesn't care about schedules. It just wants to be free and have fun and be creative and come up with fun ideas and activities to do. And oftentimes it's the artistic part of us. So you've got these two parts. And oftentimes they can kind of be at odds with each other, not at odds like they're antagonistic, but they just have different perspectives, or they might have different approaches to the same, maybe you're faced with a dilemma or trying to make a decision, or even in a moment where you're like, what should I do with myself right in this moment? What would serve me highest? And your free spirit your impresario might be like, well, you need to make that phone call. And your free spirit might be like, yeah, but let's go for a walk. That would be really fun and get some sunshine. And there's that, oh, I don't know which one. But the point is that sovereign is that part that is kind of above it all, if you will. It's the one that knows your truth. It is basically your intuition. And so while your impresario is the part of you that, let's say, for simplicity's sake, thinks, and then your free spirit is the part of you that feels. Again, we have, different versions of that. Your sovereign is the part of you that knows what is right and wrong for you, independently of how you think or how you feel. And so in some ways that sovereign is like the tiebreaker, if you will. But what it's also being is the voice for your truth, for that inner knowing of who you are, who you're here to be, what serves your highest good. And so that's why your sovereign is, or rather your sovereign is absolutely a vital part of you, because it gives focus and direction, or your truth really does, but your sovereign's like almost like the mouthpiece for your truth sometimes, is that it gives all these powers within you focus and direction. And the reason why that's important is because, sure, we can go through our lives and just be sort of enjoying ourselves and surviving. And that's fine. That's totally fine. I don't necessarily believe that everybody has to have some like overarching mission or like huge sense of purpose, but at least to have some sense of your values, some kind of guiding principles, some sort of sense of focus and purpose and mission. And it doesn't have to be, well, I'm here to, create a spaceship that flies us to Saturn. Okay, good luck landing on Saturn. But the point is that it's simply about giving focus and purpose to these powers within you, to these parts of you. Because the reality is, we do have difficult situations in life where we are forced to decide, do I go this way? Do I go that way? Or what are my guiding principles? What are my ethical standards? What is right or wrong for me, independently of anyone else? So life will present us with these scenarios, with these dilemmas, with these decisions. And so it's really important to have a sense of purpose and focus. And so that is why the sovereign is so incredibly important. And that is why it is so incredibly important that when we're talking about this idea of why it's not enough just to heal your inner struggles, it's like the inner struggles, the whole point, in my opinion, of healing those inner struggles is so you feel better, but also so that you're more in tune with your truth, because your truth is the thing that's going to give you that clarity, that purpose, that direction, that guidance, that focus, so that when you're faced with these situations in life, they're so much easier to navigate, so much easier to navigate when you're already tuned in to your own inner compass. So in that way, that's why it's not enough to I'm just going to heal my struggles and feel better, or I'm just going to bring forward my powers, or I'm going to heal my struggles and bring forward my powers. It's also about giving your powers, as I talked about earlier, a sense of purpose and focus and mission and direction. And that is an incredibly, let me put it this way. If you wouldn't have, if you didn't need a truth, you wouldn't have a truth. If you didn't need a sense of focus and purpose and direction, you wouldn't have one. If you didn't need ethics or values or, boundaries, you wouldn't have them. And so the point is, we have these built-in values and boundaries. And I think sometimes, of course, they're impacted by our environment. Certain things that can happen, situations in our lives can actually cause us to recognize even more clearly, like what our values are, or what our purpose is, or what our mission is, or what changes we want to affect in the world. Of course, our lives also guide us towards those things. But my point is that your truth, and that sovereign out of all three of the empowers is the one. The truth is really what it's all about here. And the reason why we're healing these inner struggles and bringing forward your powers. If anything, your truth is ultimately your why. And usually, one of the big reasons why we often are wanting to heal our inner struggles is because we know that's not our optimal state. And we know that's not how we're here to feel. We're not here to suffer. I don't believe that we're not here to suffer and struggle, or that when we do suffer and struggle, there's wisdom to be gained, there's growth to be gained from that. But ultimately, why? Why are we doing this? And everyone has a different why. And everyone has a different truth that's guiding them. I mean, your why or your truth could simply be, I am here to be a shining beacon of light on the planet, or I am here to help connect people to one another, or be in connection with other people. I mean, it can be something so very like non-specific and yet still so extremely powerful that can manifest itself in so many different ways. But ultimately, it's like, okay, here's a great metaphor. It's like if you go, well, so I've got this team of inner powers, right? We've got our empower team, our inner wisdom team, or you've got a team within a company. Okay, so does it make sense if you've got a company with a team of people and all they're doing is just sort of sitting around and chatting and going, oh, we feel so powerful, we feel so great, and aren't we happy? And isn't this just great? I mean, yeah, that's fine. Obviously, presence, and that is valuable enough in and of itself. But my guess is if you're thinking about yourself and like having this team inside of you, that you're really that it's like they probably want a job, they want something to do, and that really we can maximize their gifts and their skills when we give them something to do, or when they are set on a purpose, a mission, a path. Your empowers tend to know what that is. They are designed to support you in living your truth, to empower you to live your truth. But the point is that it's the key is also that we also have to be in tuning into what that truth is and making sure that those parts of us are aligned with that truth. And so it's not as though you have these other parts doing other things, but we're all in alignment, in flowing in the same direction. And when we flow in the same direction, it's so much easier, isn't it? And you feel so much more powerful. I mean, think about like a river. If you've got water kind of going like this, well, it's not very focused or directed, is it? It's kind of chaotic, as opposed to whoosh, and everything's flowing, and it's flowing easily downriver without any encumbrances or obstacles or anything like that. So that's ultimately what the truth can help us do, is provide that compass, provide that sense of clarity and mission and purpose and direction and focus for our empowers, and also can be the very thing that gives us the courage to really overcome our inner struggles or overcome those fears, to achieve certain things or to be a certain presence in the world or to have a certain impact. You see? So that's why, and when I talk about the Change Light system and I share all aspects of it, I really want you to hear how holistic this is and how all parts of it are so equally important. Is that we need our empowers to empower us to live our truth. We need our truth to give guidance to our empowers, and also to guide us to overcome our X powers or heal our X powers. We have our X powers that can help us, by working through them and overcoming them, we can actually grow stronger because of our inner struggles. I mean, it's all of it, it all works together. Okay, so I just want you to think about that, because again, a lot of times we tend to focus on, I just want to heal my struggles because we want to get rid of the pain. But also remember, there are so many other tools here, and so much, so much other wisdom and guidance and love and joy and peace and pleasure and all kinds of other aspects of you to call upon as you're on your journey of really living your truth and making the biggest difference that you could possibly make. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you as always for listening. Please, 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 if this appeals to you, please do join us in the Change Light community. Just go to changelight.world and you'll see the community link, and you can look at that, all that good stuff there, and get a tour around. Or you can even go straight to paying for it, and it's community.changelight.world, where we teach inner work to change makers, inner work that accelerates their power to change the world, that accelerates your power to change the world. So thank you so much for listening. As always, this is Emily of Change Light and creator of the Change Light system, and I will see you next week. Bye.